Remember the big hair, leather jackets, and screaming solos of the 80s? Sure, you know Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, and Def Leppard, but what about the bands that didn't make the permanent playlist? What if some of the most innovative high-voltage rock acts slipped under the radar? These 10 bands may have missed the spotlight, but they brought fire, and they deserve a second listen. Number 1, Zebra. Picture this, a mysterious acoustic intro sweeping into a full-blown prog rock explosion. That was Zebra. This trio from New Orleans burst onto the scene in 1983 with their self-titled debut, and Who's Behind the Door was their hauntingly philosophical breakout single. It blended Zeppelin-style riffs with Rush-like complexity, yet somehow stayed radio-friendly. Lead singer Randy Jackson, no, not the American Idol guy, delivered piercing vocals and virtuosic guitar work that made critics swoon. What's wild? They were the first band to ever get signed to Atlantic Records based solely on a demo tape. No gigs, no press, just raw sound. The track poses eerie questions about life and existence, set to soaring harmonies and sharp dynamics. Zebra never quite cracked the mainstream, but their live shows were legendary, and this track still leaves you wondering, why weren't they bigger? Number 2, Fastway. If you blended Motorhead's grit with AC/DC's stomp, you'd get Fastway. Founded by Fast Eddie Clarke after he left Motorhead, and Pete Way of UFO, this hard rock Frankenstein never got the love it deserved. Say What You Will was their crunchy, blues-tinged anthem from 1983 that should have been blasting out of every Camaro on the block. Now, here's a curveball. Pete Way quit the band before they even recorded their debut, so technically, Fastway's name comes from a duo that never really existed. Still, that didn't stop their debut album from selling over 500,000 copies in the US. Their blend of arena-ready hooks and no-nonsense riffing made them cult heroes, especially among fans who like their rock with a bit of grime. Number 3, Shooting Star. Kansas City's Shooting Star was this close to being the next Journey, with soaring melodies, slick production, and violin solos. Yes, violin, they brought Heartland rock to a cinematic level. Last Chance, from their 1980 self-titled debut, is a perfect blend of drama and drive, with lyrics about seizing life before it's gone. A surprising twist, they were the very first American band signed to Virgin Records and had a devoted following in the Midwest. But despite near constant touring and opening for the likes of ZZ Top and Heart, they never broke big nationally. They even had multiple tracks played on MTV's early rotation, yet somehow stayed in the shadows. A shame, because Last Chance still gives chills today. Number 4, Icon. Coming out of Phoenix with fire in their veins, Icon was like the Southwest answer to Judas Priest. Their 1984 self-titled album brought fist-pumping anthems and shrieking guitar solos that felt tailor-made for the arena circuit. Rock On Through the Night was a high-octane blast of pure 80s energy, driven by frontman Stephen Clifford's Banshee wail. They toured with Whitesnake and even scored airtime on MTV's Headbangers Ball. But what you might not know is that their second album was completely reworked by the label to soften their image, and fans hated it. That label meddling stalled their momentum. Still, for a brief shining moment, Icon looked like they could have been the next big thing in American metal. Number 5, Giuffria. Take a deep breath and let the keyboards hit you, because Giuffria brought arena rock into dreamy, synth-laden territory. Formed by former Angel keyboardist Greg Giuffria, this band's power ballads were soaked in drama. Called to the Heart, released in 1985, was their shining moment, hitting number 1. 15 on the Billboard Hot 100. Here's a tidbit. Their debut album featured guest appearances by members of Quiet Riot and Dio, and they toured with Deep Purple in their prime. Giuffria's blend of glam metal and synth rock was ahead of its time. Maybe too ahead. After a promising start, lineup changes and a lack of label support derailed their trajectory. But man, that hook and Call to the Heart still slaps. Number 6, Honeymoon Suite. Canadian rock had its moment in the 80s, and Honeymoon Suite was right at the center. New Girl Now, from their 1984 debut, is pure rock ear candy, with clean guitar hooks, a driving beat, and Johnny D's gravelly vocals. It's the kind of track that instantly transports you to cruising down a highway with the windows down. What's really interesting, the band entered a radio contest with this song and won a record deal. That's how they kicked off their career. They gained some traction in the US, even landing songs on Miami Vice and One Crazy Summer, but never fully crossed over. Still, they've kept playing over the years, and New Girl Now remains a fan favorite with cult status. Number 7, Vandenberg. Before Adrian Vandenberg shredded with Whitesnake, he fronted his own Dutch hard rock band, Vandenberg. Burning Heart is a slow-building, emotional power ballad that stunned critics in 1982 and even charted in the US. It mixes Euro metal flair with a distinctly American-style chorus. Vandenberg's guitar solo, pure poetry. Here's the crazy part, they recorded that iconic solo in one take. The band had real potential, but after their third album, Adrian got scooped up by David Coverdale for Whitesnake, and the rest is history. Still, Burning Heart has aged beautifully, one of the rare non-American 80s tracks to make a dent on US radio. It's a track that proves sometimes the heartache is the hook. Number 8, Brighton Rock. Another Canadian group that rocked hard but flew under the radar. Brighton Rock's We Came to Rock is a no-nonsense glam metal banger, full of squealing solos and in-your-face vocals. It was released in 1985 and carried the swagger of Van Halen, but with a rougher edge. Here's a fun fact, their original name was Heart Attack, but they switched after seeing Queen's Brighton Rock live. They gained a loyal following in Canada and were nominated for several Juno Awards, but they never got the US push they deserved. By the early 90s, grunge swallowed them whole. Still, for pure 80s arena rock energy, they brought the goods every time. Number 9, White Sister. White Sister blended AOR polish with glam metal attitude. Save Me Tonight, off their 1984 debut, was sleek, heartfelt, and catchy as hell. They sounded like a cross between Foreigner and Motley Crue, with big keyboards, big hair, and bigger choruses. Here's a gem. They were discovered by none other than Greg Giuffria, who helped them score a deal with EMI. They even contributed songs to Fright Night and Iron Eagle, but the industry politics and lack of proper promotion kept them sidelined. Despite the setbacks, their sound still feels timeless, and if you're into soundtracks and soaring melodies, Save Me Tonight is worth the rediscovery. Number 10, Soraya. Soraya was one of the few 80s bands led by a powerhouse female vocalist, Sandy Soraya, who could belt with the best of them. Love Has Taken Its Toll from their 1989 debut had all the trademarks. Punchy guitars, massive drums, and a dramatic vocal performance. Here's what you might not know, John Bon Jovi himself helped the band get signed to Polygram. They toured with Bad English and Winger, and even got a couple songs on MTV rotation, but the rise of grunge killed their momentum just as they were finding their groove. Sandy later stepped away from music entirely, but this track, it still rocks hard. So how many of these bands did you remember? Which track hit you the hardest? Drop your favorite forgotten 80s rock band in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our video on 10 insane rock feuds that changed music history. Rock on and keep those hidden gems spinning.